Here we go. Recording in three, two, and one.
Well, I'll pass the bar on the way to my dingy hotel room. I've spent all my money I've been drinking since noon. I'll wake there in the morning or maybe in the county jail. Times are hard or getting harder. I'm born to lose and destined to fail.
Welcome to episode 195 of Nerdery and Murdering.
Big 195. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Jeffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows, the ups, the down, the good and the bad, and the nerd and the murd. I'm so happy my sister and her husband and my bonus mom are going to come and visit.
Whoop, whoop.
Very happy that, they've never been down here. So that'll be good. It's going to be right around my birthday that
Nice.
they're coming out, and I hope the house is done by then. I told you we're remodeling our main living room and the master bathroom.
Hmm.
Um, the living room's almost done, thankfully. But the master bath, so we had a nice surprise when they got the ceiling down. Um, Come to find out that the support beams in the ceiling over that bathroom, which is pretty much directly below my office where I am right now.
Nice.
The support beams were not attached.
They were just sitting there.
The one side of it was pretty much free hanging. Was not done well. The engineer that came out said he has no idea how that passed inspection.
Uh-huh.
None.
Wow.
And it was. I mean, and it's a no brainer. We have to get it fixed because
Yeah.
the house could collapse.
Yep.
Um, so that really sucked. So that's putting the bathroom behind because they have to build a support wall to fix all that. They've been working on that, and I'm so tired of hearing construction downstairs.
Clack, clack, clack.
Yes, I'm so tired of it. I mean, we have plastic draping all around the living room and in the master bathroom. Um, I'm just so tired of this demo. I'm so ready for it to be done, but it's going to be really nice when it's done. It's just such a pain to have to deal with, but
Well, honestly, it's kind of a good thing you guys did. If you've
yes,
got
yes,
structural issues,
yes.
it's a good idea because I mean it's you can't always see that because it's behind
Well, it was above a ceiling, right?
plaster. Yeah,
I mean, it was fucking wild. I'm glad
yeah.
it
This
was
fucking thing's
found.
not even attached. What?
Right.
How is it
The
holding the wall up?
uh,
It's
the
not.
the guy who owned the house before us, he cut a lot of corners
Mhm.
because this used to be a one-story house.
Yeah.
If you because I've looked at satellite footage of the house from the 90s, and it was a one-story house, and he had it built on top of that. And I just don't know why he would have had this all built on and then cut corners and be cheap and shit. I don't.
Sure, maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it
Yeah, it
was his
was.
contractor.
No,
Oh,
no, it was him. Yeah, it was
it
him.
was him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It'll be fine.
We've got that. You know. So anyway,
He just didn't know what
um,
he was doing.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But at least we're getting it all fixed, and it'll hopefully be done soon. I mean, um, we've got stuff being delivered on Thursday, so they got to be done in the living room before Thursday. Fingers crossed. They promised us they will. Um, so I told you we got done watching Evil. We started into High Potential this
Oh,
week.
I like high
That's a
potential.
good. I like her.
I've been watching it live before the rookie.
Have you?
Actually, yeah.
Eh, And we're holding the rookie until the full season is out, and I think there's still 4 episodes to go till this season is complete. So we got into High Potential. We've got High Potential. By the time we're done with that, Reacher season 3 should be out, which I'm very excited for. If you watched Reacher,
No.
oh my God, you need to watch Reacher. It is awesome. The guy who plays Jack Reacher is great. Uh, give Reacher a watch. You will enjoy Reacher. It's really, really good. He's really good in the show. So I'm excited for season 3 because season 2 was outstanding. Um, but anyway, we got that, and then the rookie. Still got to watch Skeleton Crew. Haven't watched that yet.
Oh, I
Uh,
love Skeleton Crew. Skeleton
I've
Crew's
heard I've
great.
heard mixed reviews about it. So who knows? I mean, I heard a lot of bad reviews about Andor, but you and I both agree we liked Andor.
Yeah, Andor's great.
Guys over at
It's
Two
slow
Geeks and a
burn.
Microphone didn't like Andor.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Andor started out as a slow burn, but it kind of needed to be. You know what I mean?
mhm.
You had to get that exposition in there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely agree. So yeah, so that's what we've got going on. You got anything to add in, or are you ready to step over into the nerdery side of the
I've been
house?
thinking about this one for months. I want to step into the nerdy side of the house.
All right, so yeah, go ahead. Announce what the subject is.
Cowpunk and Punkabilly.
Okay, so I'm gonna I'm gonna ask all of our listeners. I was about to say viewers. Well, there are some viewers too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask all of our listeners slash viewers right now. Pause, take a minute, think about it, and decide: am I going to like this music or not?
I know of at least two songs you do like.
Here we go. Take it off.
It's a subgenre of punk rock that began in the United Kingdom and Southern California in the late 70s and early 1980s. It combines punk rock or new wave with country, folk, and blues, and its sound, lyrical subject matter, attitude, and style. Examples include Social Distortion, The Gun Club, The Long Riders, Dash Rip Rock, Violent Femmes, The Blasters, Mojo Nixon, The Meat Puppets, The Beat Farmers, Rubber Rodeo, Rank and File, and Jason and the Scorchers. Many of the musicians in the scene subsequently became associated with alternative country and roots rock or Americana. Psychobilly or punkabilly is a rock music fusion genre that fuses elements of rockabilly or punk rock. It has been defined as loud, frantic rockabilly music. It has also been said that it takes the traditional countrified rock style known as rockabilly, and ramps up its speed to a sweaty pace, and combining it with punk rock and imagery lifted from horror films and late night sci-fi schlock, creating a gritty, honky-tonk punk rock. Psychobilly is often characterized, and I lost my notes.
How do you do that?
It's this monitor. It go crazy. Psychobilly ops characterized by lyrical references to science fiction, horror, leading to lyrical similarities to horror punk and exploitation films, violence, lurid sexuality, and other topics generally considered taboo, though often presented in a comedic or tongue-in-cheek fashion. So that's basically it. That's the sterilized version of what it is. Basically, you take the Ramones. Because you remember, punk rock is the idea. The idea originally was strip it down, get back to its base level of what rock and roll is. It was like, let's stop, doing 45-minute jazz solos. We're not doing jazz. We're doing rock and roll. Let's just do that. But those guys were also really into the old rock and roll, like your Eddie Cochran's, uh, your Buddy Holly's, stuff like that. So a lot of that plays into this. The first song is the Misfits Hybrid Moments. Now, the Misfits were really into the horror punk scene and stuff like that. Their early stuff is really punkabilly. You don't hear it later on, but originally with the original Glenn Danzig in 1977, they formed in Lodi, New Jersey. Glenn Danzig, Jerry Only. They only made like two full style albums, Walk Among Us and Earth AD or slash Wolf's Blood. They were really kind of at the beginning of the hardcore punk movement, but their early stuff, which is really hard to or was really hard to find until about 1995, was really punkabilly or cowpunk. Um, that's what this song is. If you listen to some of their later stuff, before Danzig left in '83, it's a lot more hardcore than this. And then they kind of take a break and then they come back a little while and then they start doing this stuff again. So this is a real short time. And for a long time, you could not find hybrid moments unless you went to rare record stores and paid through the nose. Now it's out there and anybody can grab it. Um, but yeah, this is from like 1981 was when it was first released. It was self-produced. It was 1978. It was for their original album Static Age, which never came about. It was released in the 1996 box set The Misfits, and it was written by Glenn Danzig. What do you think about Hybrid Moments?
I wish this one was still hard to find. Um, I didn't like this one at all. I actually hated this. This is too pure punk, and I do not like punk music. It just I
These
don't.
hybrid
And this was
moments.
pure punk, and I hated it. Hated
Oh
it.
man,
Hated it.
this
Hated it. Hated it.
this is the song that got me into doing this this list in the first place. I was like, "Oh yeah, we need to do this." I love this tune. It's only like 2 minutes long. It is real hard. And if you listen to some of their stuff that's in the middle period, it is way harder than this. But this one, no. This one plays well in our TikToks too. Strangely enough, they people like this tune. Probably because it's short.
It could have been shorter.
The next song is In Hell I'll Be in Good Company by the Dead South. They are a folk slash bluegrass musical ensemble based in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. The band was initially formed in 2012 as a quartet by Nate Hiltz, Scott Pringle, Danny Kenyon, and Colton Crawford. Crawford left the band in 2015 and was replaced by studio musician Eliza Mary Doyle before rejoining in 2018. The band played live venues before releasing their debut five-song 2013 EP, The Ocean Went Mad and We Were to Blame. Their 2014 album, Good Company, was released by German label Devil Ducks Records. That album single, In Hell Will Be in Good Company, um, was released on YouTube and is credited with making them um, basically go international, get out of Regina, Saskatchewan. Um, this one is it leans pretty hard on the cow part of the cowpunk equation. This is almost an alt country song. What do you think about In Hell Will Be in Good Company?
I like this song. I'm not sure what it is about banjos and string music that's not a guitar, but
Hmm.
I dig songs like this.
Hmm.
This was a really cool song.
What's
I
great,
could listen to this one again and again.
the bass part is played on a cello strung around somebody's neck.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
these guys are good, 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 good. I love these guys. But yeah, it's it's about killing it's about killing your lady and you both going to hell.
Hmm.
This is very cowpunk, but it's more cow than punk, or more Billy than rock, as it were. Yeah, it's a good one. Kids, you guys may want to just break down and listen to this 195 playlist. We'll give you a second to do it. Okay, they're back. Um, the next one is Absolutely Sweet Marie by Jason and the Scorchers. They were originally called Jason and the Nashville Scorchers, and they are a cowpunk band that formed in 1981 and led by singer-songwriter Jason Rittenberg. With a sound that combines punk rock and country music, Jason and the Scorchers are noted for their energetic live performances and have earned strong reviews from critics, including Mark Deming, who declared they blazed a trail for the cowpunk and alt country movement that followed in their wake. These guys were really, really early adherents to that music style. Jason and the Scorchers have maintained a loyal core group of fans around the world for more than 30 years. Jason and the Scorchers released their latest album, Halcyon Times, in February of 2010. They are still touring as of right now. Absolutely Sweet Marie is a song by American singer-songwriter Bob Dylan, which was released on the third side of the double album, Dylan's seventh studio album, Blonde on Blonde, which was released in '66. The song was written by Dylan and produced by Bob Johnson. It was recorded around 1 a.m. on March 8th, 1966 at Columbia Studios A, Nashville. Uh, on the Fervor EP in 1983 was released by Jason and the Scorchers. It was originally released by Praxis. It was expanded and re-released by EMI the following year. So this is a Bob Dylan cover by Jason and the Scorchers. Absolutely Sweet Marie. What did you think about this one?
This is another one of those songs that honestly I would have liked so much more if there were a different singer.
Oh yeah,
Um, he's
you don't
okay.
like Jason?
It was too much of a punk voice, and it ruined the song for me. I was starting to like it, but the voice just ruined it for me on this one.
Okay, that's fair. The next one is the Meat Puppets Swimming Ground. The Meat Puppets are an American rock band formed in January of 1980 in Phoenix, Arizona. The group's original lineup was Kirk Kirkwood, his brother Chris Kirkwood, and Derek Bostrom on drums. Chris was on bass. The Kirkwood brothers met Bostrom while attending Brophy Prep High School in Phoenix. The three of them moved to Tempe um, and went to Arizona State. Um, they purchased two adjacent houses. They used one for recording and one for living in. They started as a punk rock band, but like most of their label mates on SST Records, they established their own unique style, blending punk with country and psychedelic rock, and features Kurt warbling vocals. Meat Puppets later gained a significant exposure when Kirkwood brothers served as guest musicians on Nirvana's MTV Unplugged performance in '93. The band's 1994 album Too High to Die was subsequently became their most successful release. The band broke up twice, but they are together as of now. This is from their third album, Up on the Sun. It was released March 21st, 1985 by the SST Records. The album features a cleaner and more technical sound and more psychedelic rock feel, in contrast to the sloppy punk approach of their first album, which continued with the mystical poetic lyrics and country-infected songwritings on Meat Puppets 2. But this one is from Up on the Sun. It is Swimming Ground. What did you think about Swimming Ground?
It started off okay, but
Yeah, I
then
like
once
that
again,
lead
yeah, I
up.
liked how it started, but then the singing went punk, and it's like, nope, no, nope, I'm out, can't continue, and that's just a hard pass for me.
I'd like to meet Puppets. I think he's a fairly decent singer.
I think there's another song of theirs I know.
Yeah. The Meat Puppets got real popular in the mid '90s. I can't right now. It's killing me trying to think of the. Was it Backwater? Or the Backwater Circles? Yeah,
Maybe, uh,
yeah, Backwater.
um, God, I don't know. I'm not sure which one I know, but I swear that I know
Yeah, it's
something
it's
of
Backwater,
theirs.
where the
Is it?
Backwater circles and there's something to. Yeah, that's the Meat Puppets.
Yep. Nope. That's not the one.
Some things will be arranged. But that was their big alt hit. But I kind of like this earlier stuff better because it's got more of that punkabilly sound. Because I really like this style of music. I think it's hard and frenetic, but it also kind of sounds like what was going on here. The next one in the list is My Love Forevermore, the Hillbilly Moon Explosion. The Hillbilly Moon Explosion is a Swiss rockabilly band founded in 1998. The group is known for their versatile mix of rock and roll, jump blues, swing, country, roots rock, and surf music. They were originally part of the Zurich rockabilly scene, which is kind of big, which is unusual. The group was founded by native English and Swiss citizens Olivia Baroni and Italian Swiss singer Emanuela Hunter. Olivia Baroni was planning to leave his former band, the Hillbilly Headhunters, and Emanuela Hunter worked with the singer-songwriter music project MD Moon at that time. The original formation was completed by drummer Ad Hollander and guitarist Pat Mateo. Um, on the album Buy, Beg, and Steal in the song My Love Is Evermore, Hunter sang a duet with Mark Sparky Phillips from the British psychobilly group Demented or Go. Further duets with Sparky appeared on the Damn Right Honey and with Monsters and Gods album and a full album of duets. The Sparky Sessions appeared in 2019. What did you think for My Love Forevermore by the Hillbilly Explosion?
I dug this song a lot.
Yeah,
I thought this was a really cool
and I
song.
like his kind of deep or squishy, and hers is so sweet and light, and they just
Yes,
blend.
yes. I loved her most in this song.
Mhm.
Um, this song could fit in a Tarantino movie
That's yeah.
easily.
It's a lot of these songs are used in films and stuff, and usually for closing credits.
Hmm.
The next one is one we've actually talked about before. It is Ball and Chain by Social Distortion. They're an American punk rock band formed in '78 in Fullerton, California. The band currently consists of Mike Ness, Johnny Wickersham, Brent Harding, and David Hidalgo Jr., and David Kalish on keyboards. They emerged from the Orange County hardcore scene in the late '70s alongside Agent Orange and the Adolescents. Social Distortion went on temporary hiatus in the mid 80s due to Ness's drug addiction and troubles with the law, which resulted in extended stints in various rehabilitation centers and lasted for 2 years. Following the Reformation, the band shifted its style to a country, blues, hard rock, and early rock and roll influenced style of punk. Since its inception, the band's lineup has seen significant turnover with Ness as the only constant member. But so we've talked about Mike Ness before. They are continuing to tour as well. So Mike Ness was part of the hardcore punk scene. If you ever see Penelope Spheris's Decline of Western Civilization #1, he's prominently featured as like a teenager with a big old mohawk. But he went to jail a couple of times, went to rehab, went to jail, and after 2 years, he got out and did Prison Bound, which we talked about. And then a couple of years later, they did the self-titled Social Distortion album, and this thing went off like a rocket, especially compared to what they had been doing before. Because Social Distortion was a small band. Um, they played on indie stations when they released Prison Bound, but then they played on regular radio, and this was one of those songs. Um, it's featured on their eponymous album, as well as their live on the Roxy. Um, In the words of Mike Ness, Ball and Chain is a hard luck story, a forceful cry, a lament, a plea, and a folk prayer. It is also about his coming to terms with his addiction, hence the ball and chain. What do you think about this one?
Okay, here we go. This is a song I've known for years. I've known
Mhm.
this song a very, very long time. And I hate this song. I
You,
hate this
I
song.
thought you
I
liked
hate this
this
song.
song.
Oh, why do I hate this song? Go on. Ask me why.
Why do you hate the song?
It's your fault.
Why?
You would sing this song over and over and over. However, not the full song, just the refrain over and over until I hated the song.
Take
We would drive to
away,
work and
take
you would just sing this
away,
verse over and
take
over and over
away this
until I wanted
ball
to
and
punch a koala.
chain. 'Cause I'm
You made me
lonely
hate this song.
and I'm
You destroyed this song for
tired
me. This is
and
your
I
fault.
can't take any
Singing
more
it doesn't
pain.
help me. Singing it doesn't make it any better for me. I hate this song and it's your fault. Absolutely 100% your fault. I cringed when I saw this on the list.
Yeah, I kind of like this song.
It could be a good song if somebody didn't fucking ruin it for me.
uh, Kids, give this one a listen. It's fun. It's
Fuck
loud.
that. Fuck that.
Uh, the next song is Bad Things by Jace Everett Beasley. He's an American singer-songwriter and musician. He signed to Epic Records in 2005. He released his debut single, That's the Kind of Love I'm in 2005, which peaked at number 52 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs. This song, again, leans more to the cow and the cowpunk, but it deals with darker tones. His song Bad Things is a theme for the HBO series True Blood. So if you ever see True Blood, that song that's playing at the beginning, that's what this is. You get the whole song out of this. Um, Bad Things is written and recorded by Jace Everett. It's included on his only album for Epic Records Nashville, the self-titled Jace Everett. Although released as a single in 2005, it did not chart on the hot country single charts that year. The song is charted in the United Kingdom, Norway, and Sweden in 2009 after it was selected as the theme song for the HBO series True Blood. Um, I love this tune, but this is even though he released it on a country label, this is a cowpunk song. This is dark, It's kind of there's a crossover between goth music and cowpunk called goth punk. this this kind of fits into that. Um, and the fact that they used it for a series about vampires doesn't hurt. What do you think about Do Bad Things?
Well, the fact that they put it not a TV show about vampires, but to a very popular TV show about vampires.
Yes.
Yeah, this song I've known for so long. I mean, I heard it every week when I watched True. It's a great song. I love this song. Although I was surprised, I had never looked it up. I thought that this was who's it? What's it? Chris Isaac. I didn't know
No,
this was Chase
Jace
Everett because
Everett.
it
Yeah,
he has a very Chris Isaac sound.
yeah, Jace Everett's kind of, you could tell he got a lot of his ideas from Chris Isaac. Chris Isaac kind of fits a little bit into this category too. I just didn't, there wasn't enough room to put him in here. And I wasn't sure what song to do, unfortunately.
Maybe did a bad thing.
Baby did a bad, bad thing. Yeah, that would have worked. Maybe I'll put that in the end of this particular list. Um, the next one is the Blasters, Dark Knight. The Blasters are an American rock band formed in '79 in Downey, California by brothers Phil Alvin and Dave Alvin, with bass guitarist John Baz and drummer Bill Bateman. The self-described American music is a blend of rockabilly, early rock and roll, punk rock, mountain music, and rhythm and blues and country. Dark Knight uh, was featured on the 1985 album Hardline. The earliest offerings of the song in popular culture can be found in the 1985 episode Whatever Works in season 2 of the TV crime drama Miami Vice. It experienced a resurgent popularity after being prominently featured in the 1996 Robert Rodriguez film From Dusk Till Dawn as the opening and closing song. It also features as the main theme of the 2005 motion picture Dark Knight. What do you think about the Blasters Dark Knight?
I didn't remember it being at the beginning from Dusk Till Dawn. I remember it from the end, but it was
It's
in both.
also in,
Is in both.
yeah, yeah. It is also in uh, the first Punisher movie too,
Huh.
when the
Huh.
killer comes to get him.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This was a great song. I love this song. I mean, um as soon as I start hearing that on the list, I'm just hearing it in my head and makes
Hmm.
me want to go watch From Dusk Till Dawn. Um, great, great song. I love this song.
Yeah, it is a great, and it fits directly into that wheelhouse of this is, it's like, well, I mean, most people think, yeah, punk rock is just screaming and stuff. No, there's a lot of root stuff in it too. And this is, when I say punk rock, this is usually what I'm talking about. I like that root sound that it's not polished, but it's good. They didn't necessarily have to be bad at playing music to be punk rock. Um, it's simpler. The next one is by the Beat Farmers. It is Ridin'. The Beat Farmers are an American rock band formed in San Diego, California in August of '83. They enjoyed a cult following into the early '90s before the death of drummer and sometime lead singer Country Dick Montana. Their music can be described as an amalgam of jangle pop, roots rock, hard twanging Americana, country rock, rockabilly, and swamp rock. The San Diego Reader summed up their sound as like Bo Diddley, CCR, Joe South, and the Yardbirds, ham-fisted into a food processor, stuffed into a shotgun shell, and blasted into a beer keg at 3 in the morning. Which, yeah, it's kind of like the Blasters. This is off their album Tales of the New West. It's the debut album. It was released in 1985. The band it came out the same time as the Blasters. Um, the band signed a one album deal with Rhino Records. The album peaked at number 186 on the Billboard 200. It sold more than 40,000 copies by the end of 1985. An expanded edition of Tales of the New West was reissued in 2004. The Beat Farmers dismissed the cowpunk label, noting their blues, folk, and roadhouse rock influences. I disagree with the Beat Farmers. I think they are solidly cowpunk or punkabilly. What did you think about Riding with the Beat Farmers?
I like this one from beginning to end. I had to listen to this one a couple of times because I enjoyed it. It went right into my playlist. I like this.
Yeah,
This is a good song.
the Beat Farmers remind me a lot of like the Bodines. It's like, why weren't these guys bigger? The Beat Farmers. Yeah, it's kind of a goofy name, but I mean, we got other goofy name bands that got big. This one made it just didn't quite get there. They were a little too nichey, just like the Bodines. Um, and the next song on this list is Someday by Concrete Blonde. They were an American rock band from Hollywood, California. They were initially active from '82 to '94 and reunited twice. Uh, they were best known for their album Bloodletting in 1990 and its top 20 single Joey and Johnette Napolitano's distinctive vocal style. This is from their fourth studio album, Walking in London, alternative rock band Concrete Blonde. Um, They have played on a lot of, like, The Shield use a lot of the stuff from Walking in London. Someday is an American alternative rock band. Someday is the second single from the album Walking in London. Sorry. It was written by John Napolitano and produced by Concrete Blonde and Chris Skanderatis. Someday reached number 8 on the U.S. Billboard Modern Rock charts in May of 1992. Now, we've talked about this before. Concrete Blonde kind of ventured into the cowpunk punkabilly sound with Free and then Bloodletting and then Ghost of Texas Ladies Man and Walking in London. This is actually my favorite Concrete Blonde song. I like this better than Joey, which is saying a lot because I love that fucking song. What did you think about Someday?
Um, I I pretty much like most of Concrete Blonde, and this one is no exception. I hadn't heard it before. When I saw Concrete Blonde on the list, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a song I know. I didn't.
Hmm.
This is a good one. I liked it.
Yeah,
Concrete Blonde. I like Concrete Blonde.
yeah, they're a great band. It's
Yeah.
it's her vocals, it's James Mankey's guitar playing, but it has definitely got a cowpunky feel. Is that um so that's it for that list. We're
Not a
gonna
bad
do an
list.
Yeah, we're gonna do another one next.
I mean, 7 out of 10 of them, I playlist. So I mean that's I expected worse. I fully expected
It's the
worse.
word punk. It throws people off. It's like, nah, it's
Yes,
not what you think it is.
yes, it
Um,
really does. But good list. You put a good one together with this one.
Thank you.
Awesome, cool. All right, with that, we'll step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murderer.
Okay, so today I got my information off KTVZ 21 News, Medium, another Bundy blog, which is interesting. A couple of different Charlie Project sites, the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, or NamUs, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office. And this is the story of the murder of Susan Wickersham.
Susan Wickersham.
17-year-old Susan Wickersham had just finished her junior year at Bend High School. She had been looking forward to the long, hot Oregon summer before beginning her senior year. She had all sorts of dreams and aspirations about her bright future. However, things didn't go as planned for her. Instead of enjoying the gorgeous weather and spending time with her friends, Susan's life was tragically cut short. So on the night of July 11th, 1973, Susan and her friends spent the evening driving around Bend. Her mother said she could borrow the family's car on the condition that she drop off the vehicle at her mother's place of work before the end of her shift. After driving her friend home, Susan drove to the Sage Room restaurant where her mother worked. That night, Susan went inside and spoke to her mom, telling her she'd arranged for friends to come pick her up outside the restaurant. And around 11:30 that night, Susan left the Sage Room restaurant and walked up the road to the Owl Rexall drugstore. She waited for her friends to pick her up, but her friends never showed. And because she didn't have a ride home that night, she needed to decide what to do. She could walk back home, but that was a few. I saw one report said a few miles away, another report said it was only a couple miles, but at any rate. Or the other choice, she could stay at the restaurant while her mother finished her shift and then they could go home together. Or another potential option was to hitchhike. Bend, Oregon was a fairly small city. It in the 70s, a lot of people felt it was safe to hitchhike.
Oh yeah.
In 1973, Bend, Oregon had a population of approximately 75,000 people, only contained one high school, and for the most part, its residents were trusting in everyone else, that lived there felt safe. Hitchhiking was very common in the 70s. It was also legal in the 70s.
Hmm.
And I guess it's probably because people believed in the goodness of others. A little different from today. Hitchhiking is extremely dangerous today and illegal.
Yes.
Hitchhiking was something that Susan had done in her past, so she decided to head home on her own. But unfortunately, this would be the night she disappeared. The night she disappeared, Susan had been wearing white slacks, a brown car coat, white shoes, and a blue and white checkered shirt, and she had a brown purse with her. She was born on November 21st, 1955. Her parents were Roy and Sharon Wickersham. She had two siblings. She had grown up in Bend, Oregon. They lived at 905 Roosevelt Avenue. She was white with blonde hair. She'd been 5'3" and weighed 110 pounds. And Susan's friends remembered her as a friendly, bubbly girl. She'd gotten well along with her classmates, and everybody had been devastated by the news of her disappearance. When Susan never came home that night, her family became extremely worried about her. It was not like her to stay out all night and not contact her family. So they started driving around Bend looking for her. Her parents did call the police and report her as a missing persons, but hey, shock of shocks, the police had little interest in looking for her because they instantly presumed that Susan was what? A
A
teenage
runaway,
runaway.
a
This
teenage
is
runaway.
this theme we talk about so much, and I don't I don't know why police immediately will go down there, or in a lot of these stories at any rate. I don't know how
Well, and
common this is,
I've
but they
also
go down
noticed
this road.
it's also a time period thing. It's like they quit doing that in the early 90s. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, but like from the 70s up to the 90s, oh, she's a teenage runaway.
Yeah,
Dude, what?
and we've talked about it in the show before. They say that the first 24 to 48 hours are the most critical in a missing persons case, and I just don't understand why police, especially if parents come forward and say, is there a history of them being run away?
Hmm.
What is this like her to stay out all night and not call home? If this isn't a pattern,
Hmm.
why not take it seriously? It's just we've mentioned this so many times. I don't understand. But
Yep.
her parents did insist that Susan didn't run away and something must have happened to her, but the police
Hmm.
refused to listen. Susan had been very happy. She had a good home life. She had friends. She was very close to her family. She had a job. And she was looking forward to her summers. And they said she just wouldn't disappear with like that.
Yeah.
Police, though, kept insisting that they should wait it out as they were certain Susan would show up eventually. Police said that disappearances among young people at the time were, quote, a dime a dozen and theorized she took off but would, quote, turn up soon. Again, I guess this was the time period, but still, I don't know. I don't know how many of these were reported and they ended up being runaways, and so it's just
Yeah, but how many have we covered where they reported, oh, there's just a teenage runaway and they ended up being murdered or something?
right, right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they disappear all the time. That's because someone's murdering them. I'm sorry. Please go.
No,
Please
you're
continue.
fine. Once Roy and Susan realized police weren't going to take them seriously, they decided for themselves they were going to try to locate Susan. They continued searching in the Bend area. They
Hmm.
reached out to Susan's friends. As they drove around Bend, they would bring a photo of Susan, showing it to everyone, begging people to help them locate Susan. They were convinced that she had met with foul play that night, and they hoped that someone in Bend knew something that could help locate their missing daughter. The days would turn into weeks and then months. Susan, of course, never came home. Her family was still convinced that something terrible had happened to Susan, and she had been victim of foul play. And you've got to imagine how excruciating this is, not
Hmm.
knowing where their daughter was or what had happened to her. I
Hmm.
cannot imagine, absolutely could not imagine living through this.
Yeah.
The police did receive multiple tips from the public as witnesses claimed to have seen Susan around Bend, Vancouver, Klamath Falls, and in Portland. A salesman had seen a recent news report about Susan, and he was convinced that he had seen her eating breakfast at a Klamath Falls restaurant. A woman in Bend said that she'd talked to Susan when she'd been at a bus stop in Klamath Falls. Police did investigate, but they were unable to find Susan in any of the locations given by the witnesses. One of Susan's childhood friends, Denise Blake, worked at the Sage Room restaurant the night Susan had dropped off the car for her mother. In 2015, Denise spoke with KTVZ News about that night, and she said, quote, "It was just a sunny, ordinary day. This was Bend, Oregon in 1973. Stuff like that didn't happen here. I worked at the Sage Room restaurant with Susan's mom. She came in that day, and we said hi, and exchanged greetings. A couple of minutes later, I was waiting on a table, and I saw her standing across the street in front of what was then the Owl Pharmacy. And the next time I looked out the window, she was gone." On January 20th, 1976, 3 years after Susan had gone missing, her remains were found. The wooded area where Susan's remains were discovered was just a few miles outside of Bend, behind a truck weigh station on Highway 97. The man who made the discovery had been collecting firewood in the area, and he immediately called police, and authorities began to investigate.
Three
Uh,
years? Probably
three
just
years.
bones.
Well, and that's what it was. It was skeletal remains, and so they weren't immediately identified as Susan's. But the police conducted a list of the missing person cases over the past few years.
Hmm.
The remains were transported to the medical examiner's office for further investigation. Susan would end up being formally identified through her dental records, although technically her records had gone missing. The authorities were able to contact Susan's former dentist who had moved out of the Bend area, and they described the Jane Doe's dental work to the dentist in the hopes that he would recognize Susan through her dental work, and he was able to successfully do so, which is what led Susan to be identified as the Jane Doe found in the woods. Susan had been shot in the head, right behind the ear. There was no exit wound. They believed that her murderer used a 22 pistol, and authorities now knew they had a homicide on their hands. Authorities were initially interested in the fact that Susan's remains had finally turned up, but they didn't have much evidence to go on. The police did find some of Susan's personal belongings at the crime scene, as well as scraps of her clothing, but her remains had been exposed to the elements and her bones had been scattered in the area by animals. They were unable to determine who had murdered her, and their case quickly went cold, but at least now they knew for sure that Susan wasn't just a teenage runaway, she was a murder victim. This would give the family a small amount of comfort, knowing they could eventually lay her to rest, but the question still remained, who killed Susan Wickersham? Until that question was answered and the killer was brought to justice, Susan's loved ones would never get proper closure. Authorities couldn't determine exactly when Susan had been murdered. Portland Deputy State Medical Examiner Larry Lumen had determined that her remains had been at the dump site for at least 2 years. But the likeliest scenario is that she had been murdered on the night she went missing or shortly afterwards. The police had an unnamed person of interest in mind for Susan's murder, but they didn't have enough evidence to make an arrest. They made an appeal to the public for anyone who knew something about her disappearance and death to come forward. In a 2015 interview, Deschutes County Sheriff Captain Mark Mills spoke out about the case, focusing particularly on the fact that he hoped Susan's murderer would eventually be caught or turn himself in. He firmly believed that there was someone out there who knew what had happened to Susan that night. And he said, quote, you're 42 years older. You're probably near the end of your life. Put some things in motion, at least in the event of your death, so investigators at the sheriff's office can put this case to rest and give what family is left closure. Um, this was a personal case for Captain Mills because he was a high school classmate with Susan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he had said, quote, Susan was happy, free-spirited. We would occasionally be at the same lunch table. It was sad when Susan went missing and a shock when the town learned how she died. It was disturbing for our class of 1974. It was one of the first things I wanted to do was pick up this file as a young detective, the youngest detective at the time. This is one of the cases I really, truly wanted to have closure.
Oh, wow. So he almost sounds like he became a detective to solve her murder.
Yeah, it kind of did seem that way. Um, Susan's family and loved ones feel they have a very strong idea who the girl's murderer was.
Really?
They think it was someone from Bend, and supposing that the person was ever charged, that it would shock a lot of residents. For many people who were deeply invested in the case, it was frustrating to have an idea behind the teen's brutal murder, but not enough evidence to put the killer behind bars. And for decades, Susan's killer has walked free because he stole all those years from her. She didn't get to graduate with her classmates. She didn't get to fall in love, get a career, start a family. She never got to achieve her dreams, never got to celebrate birthdays or holidays with her again.
She didn't get to enjoy the rest of that summer.
No. Roy Wickersham died in 1993 and Sharon in 2006. They did get to lay Susan's remains to rest, but they were never able to see justice. And Susan's case has been cold for decades. Um, Some believe it's highly unlikely that it's ever going to be solved. In 2005, the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office created their cold case team so they could investigate unsolved cases for the last few decades. They were especially hopeful that new advances in DNA technology would help solve the cold cases. Um, the retired police officers would volunteer about 20 hours a week poring over old case files in the hope they might be able to solve them. The cold case squad has been inspired by Susan Wickersham's unsolved murder, and the team strives to solve her murder as well as others from the area. On September 12th, 2006, the cold case squad teamed up with an FBI crime scene processing team based in Portland. And together they worked with the sheriff's office and rescue unit and studied an area near Knott and Scalehouse roads, but unfortunately they had little success in finding new evidence to make an arrest in the decades-old murder. One theory that has been heavily discussed over the years was that Susan Wickersham had been one of Ted Bundy's victims. We will be covering Ted Bundy at some point.
Was he operating in the area at the time?
Well, from 1972 to 73, he worked for the Seattle Crime Prevention Advisory Commission. During this time, he helped create new hitchhiking laws, as well as writing a rape prevention pamphlet, which is ironic considering his crimes, which again we will discuss.
Yeah.
But by the summer of 73, Ted was unemployed and he didn't find work until September of that year. Authorities were able to determine that Ted Bundy had been staying at the Rogers rooming house in Seattle at the time, and they had receipts to prove he was in Seattle the day before and the day after Susan went missing. But there is no record for his whereabouts on the actual day that she disappeared.
Hold
The
on.
say,
Let me look up a picture of Susan Wickersham because
sure,
I know what his MO is.
yeah, I do too. Um,
Ah, dark hair parted in the middle. Damn it. Although her hair's lighter.
mhm.
Yeah.
Well, the Sage Room restaurant would have been a 6 hour drive from Seattle, so it's a possibility he could have been behind her murder, but there's
Hmm.
no proof to definitively say it was the case. It's really more likely that Susan had been murdered by a local or someone passing through the area. You know, like I said, the family they never gave the name of the
Of the
person they suspected, right?
suspect.
Um, On April 19th, 2022, a Reddit user suggested that Susan may have been the victim of John Arthur Ackroyd from the logging town of Sweet Home, Oregon. We covered him before just a
Oh
few
yeah,
weeks ago.
Aykroyd.
However, he was stationed overseas in the Army between 69 and 76, so he couldn't have been responsible.
Yeah.
Susan wasn't the only missing person from the Bend area. On June 29th, 1973, 17-year-old Rita Jolly disappeared from West Lynn, Oregon. She had been out on an evening walk. Police believed that she was a teen runaway at first, though they later began to believe she was a victim of foul play. Some people theorized that Rita had been one of Ted Bundy's victims. On August 20th, 1973, 24-year-old Eugene resident Vicki Lynn Holler disappeared after her seamstress job. She had walked to her vehicle after a shift but never arrived home. Her friends became worried when she didn't show up to a party that evening. Neither Rita or Vicky have ever been seen since and are still missing persons. Both are similar in appearance to Susan in the same approximate age bracket, and all three girls lived in close proximity and had disappeared within months of each other. 27-year-old Terry Rogers went missing on May 31st, 1973, when he had been camping at Meadow Camp, which was 6 miles from Bend. His friends became concerned when they found his pickup truck parked near the campsite. His bag of groceries was still in the truck, as well as his glasses, wallet, and camping gear. The authorities conducted a 3-day search for him, and he was an experienced outdoorsman, but they couldn't find him. He is still a missing person to this day.
Hmm.
Susan's sister, Rhonda McMurrin, spoke out about her murdered sister, and she said the following: Susan is never far from our thoughts, probably because we never had closure. I couldn't even imagine then that it would take this long to solve. Someday I'd like to look the guy in the eye and say, why did you do this? She was just a nice person. You think all those things that could have been and all the people who loved her. This case is still unsolved to this day. As I had said, I didn't find anywhere the person of interest that the family thought of. But if you
Apparently
do,
the police too.
right. But but they never listed anything. So I guess it's still open. It's not, it hasn't been closed. If you do have any information on Susan's murder, anything at all, please contact detectives at the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office at 541-693-6911. And that's the story of the murder of Susan Wickersham.
Well, thank you for that, sir. That's fascinating.
Yeah. Um, uh, I don't know. I don't that's I tend to agree. I think it's probably someone local.
Local.
And that's why exactly why the family thinks they know who it is. It was probably somebody local. And
And it said it's
hopefully
going to shock somebody. It's probably going to be like a judge or something like
or a
that, or
teacher or
yeah, or local
something.
doctor, yeah,
Yeah.
high school principal, whatever.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But hopefully they'll eventually find some closure in this case. So thank you for that. That'll take us to the end of another recording week. As always, you can find more about us on nerderymurder.com. That's our hub for everything that we talk about. You'll find links to what we talk about, plus pictures of everything we talked about today, plus the link to our YouTube page, which Zig so often updates.
Yes, you definitely want to check out the YouTube page so you can see what we're talking about. I would recommend you watch it, you listen to it beforehand, especially for the next one, because we're going to do another one of these.
Yep. You can also find the link to our merchandise page, where if you wish to show off your nerdery murdery fandom, please do consider purchasing something from that. That along with our patrons, our Patreon link is on our webpage, and that goes to the costs that are associated with this show. There are costs to keep us on the air, to keep our uploads, to keep our website and everything that goes on to bring you this entertainment each and every week. We do appreciate each and every one of you.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. Last but not least, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It really helps us and helps others find our content that may be looking for the topics we discuss. So with that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
and I'm Jeffrey with their murdering.
Cue the music.